just a reference point, in Chicago, social media consultants charge a client anywhere between $1,000 and $4,000 a month, is what I've been told by advertisers. So it can be very lucrative. It's not a business I want to be in, though.
Okay.
Zach,
You have a question?
Yeah, hey guys. How much are you guys having feet held to the fire from an accountability standpoint on ad performance? You guys have been talking a lot about relationships being within the fabric of the community. Some of the pros and cons for digital media is very attractive. So how much are you guys finding that it's, how sophisticated are your advertising clients, and how much are they holding your guys' feet to the fire on the performance of you guys?
Okay, let me repeat it so Jeffrey's head doesn't explode. The question was, how much accountability do you have to give to your advertisers about performance, about, how is the ad actually performing, what are they actually getting because of the trackability of online media?
By and large, pick up off the trackability thing, I very rarely get asked for stats. Now, when we first started, I had this belief because we don't rotate our ads, we didn't need a ad server. We didn't need to provide reports. This is more like advertising in the penny saver than advertising, on the web, was sort of the approach that I took. Then there was a car dealer I really wanted to get, and he insisted on having ad stats. So we signed him and put his ad in an ad server. And at the same time, there's another advertiser I already had who was starting to question, how do I know my ad's working? So we put him in the ad server. Well, now I can say, we're sending, forget about click-through rates, we're sending 80 people a month to your site from our site. That's, for our size market, that's pretty good. That's 80 people you're not going to get otherwise. By the way, those two advertisers never ask me for stats anymore. I mean, they're still with us, they're very loyal, but we've kind of proved the performance. There are other advertisers, I could tell stories of advertisers who sold out of a particular thing or something when their only advertising at that point was on my site. They're looking more at how many feet are coming in the door from my ad. That's really all they care about. They don't care about the stats. And then there's a class of advertisers that are like, I know people are seeing my ad because they mention it to me. I've had advertisers say, I know people are seeing my ad, they mention it to me. I can't say for sure that it's ever led to a direct sale, but they're satisfied with, they know people are seeing the ad. I just typically don't find, at least in a small town like this, a great deal of demand for, how do I want to put this, like a paid-for performance sort of thing, where there's, I only want to spend the money that I know is working. People want to be associated with the Batavian.
Is it different in larger markets, Mike? Do you see?
Yeah, there are people that are extraordinarily sophisticated. I had one guy I tried to do a sale for. He used to run SEO for some giant company, and I was like, oh, geez. And that was not a sale. But I think the conclusion that Kathy and I have come to is that if somebody is demanding click-throughs, we sold it the wrong way. There's if you take Marketing 101, one of the first things they teach you is that there's studies that show it takes 13 impressions on a consumer before they make a purchase decision. So that click-through is actually on their way to a purchase decision. That's further towards the end of that 13. But they have to see the ad, not just your ad, but see the product, hear people talk about it, before they can make that purchase decision. So what you're really talking to people about is this advertisement is not somebody's going to go, ooh, I want to go buy that mortgage brokering service. They're thinking to themselves, okay, I've heard about this mortgage broker, so when I'm ready or I know somebody that's ready to buy a house, this is the guy I'm going to call. And that's, for a lot of advertisers, that's a leap that they're not ready to make. For some strange reason, they're okay with that in a newspaper because it's not like you click through on a newspaper to go buy something. So.
One thing I want to jump in, and it's sort of related to kind of what we're talking about in the performance thing. One of my little pet peeves or frustrations is there's a punditry class out there that think that there's no money, how are we going to pay for journalism online? Oh, my God, there's no way to make money. Nobody is coming up with innovative ideas on how to make money online. I really approach this with, there's no need to reinvent the wheel. What has always worked in print, or used to work in print a lot better, also works online. I mean, there's money to be made around advertising. We're all talking about basically just traditional advertising. This is not rocket science, so to speak. As I said before, I believe there's money made around classifieds. Social media, that is new, kind of an online-only sort of thing, but it's still, at its nuts and bolts, relationship building, ad sales, it's just very basic. I don't see a need until we exhaust all of these possible revenue streams to my God, we got to come up with the great innovative revenue idea for online to save journalism. And we can save journalism just by working hard and executing on the opportunities that are there.
I kind of want to step in on this question of stats and reporting and things like that. Just really briefly, I think we are not in total agreement here on the panel about that. We give all of our advertisers very, very sophisticated reports, and part of that is because our ads perform extremely well compared to any other ad they might have, and so that actually builds their confidence in us versus other online spends they might be doing, whether it's Google or another local competitor, because we'll blow them away with the value, particularly our click-through rates that are 3 or 4 times as high as the other ones they're seeing. So our key is to educate everybody to really appreciate those reports, because they're a key part of the conversation we're having. In the future, it is my job, and I think maybe it's not everybody here's job, but if you're selling local online advertising that's from local businesses to your local region, it's our job to make the conversations that we have with our clients and our partners informative and educational. They need to be savvier online, because that's how they're going to be able to survive. And you're probably not going to be the only place they have to advertise online or have marketing services from in order to be successful as a local business. You can be the hub of that, and that's what we try to be. But if you want to be the hub of that, then you have to be the person who's educating them. And when you're educating people, particularly small business owners, whether they're sophisticated or they know nothing, just remember that you want to give them 2 things that they already know and understand before you try to give them one thing that's new and kind of complex. So if you're talking about click-through rates, don't start with click-through rates. Start with impressions, because they get that. Start with people, because they get that. Start with branding, because they believe in that. And then say, and another measure where we're really succeeding is a click-through rate, and let me explain what that is to you. And so don't go in there and try to make everybody all at the top, and be very sensitive to and understand that your different partners are on different levels, but it is your responsibility to inform and educate them and make them more sophisticated buyers. And if they are more sophisticated buyers, they will buy more with you.
Number one question I get is, how many hits do you get? And then I have to explain, well, hits doesn't really mean anything, but here, what do you really want to know? Do you want to know how many page views we get or how many people visit the site? Usually it's, well, how many people visit the site? And then once I tell them 6,000 or 7,000 people a day, well, that's, for our market, that's huge. So that's a bigger selling point than click-through rates.
So I can just do a follow-up point on
Sure.
this? So I'm with Colloquial Media. We recently launched about 6 months ago. And to add further kind of sophistication layer of what you guys are talking about, some of the campaigns that we did from a hyper-local targeting perspective, we actually compared against things like more traditional geo-targeting and search engine marketing, which we all know, Google's making billions of dollars on this. But this level of granular targeting actually has outperformed search in a lot of the campaigns that we've done pretty handily. So we've been trying to be very public about posting that on our blog and getting that word out there. Have you guys, I don't know if you're doing it right now, but I think from an industry perspective, these type of data points can be super helpful. In fact, one of the papers whose website we actually represent took that, they had never seen their advertising really kind of compare to any level of accountability, not to mention things like search and more sophisticated areas of the market. Blew this guy away. He said, give me those slides, handed it to his sales team. And about 3 months later, he said, I can't tell you how many sales that data actually helped us close. So it's compelling stuff. This level of targeting, I think, is very effective. Just wanted to
You do that?
Yeah, there's a question about being able to present, or a statement really about being able to present the more sophisticated buyers with the facts that you can outperform search engine or even social marketing, social media marketing, by targeting through trusted hyperlocal sources. The targeting just being choosing the right site, like your site. We're actually putting together a case study because, so I mentioned that we have a weekly deal program now called Deal Ticket. And when we launched in the new platform, we decided to put about, I think it's $2,000 in the first month into marketing it through different channels. So we became our own, we're customers of ourselves. We are marketing Deal Ticket, and we were using search engine marketing, we were using Facebook marketing, buying ads on Facebook specifically, and also running our Facebook page and telling people to go and buy stuff. And we also bought our own ads for comparison purposes. Now, this is by no means scientific. We're not a true third party. But we had Agency M, this digital media agency within us, really run this project for us. The most powerful ads in terms of click-throughs and in terms of actual sales for our weekly deal site were through our own front page. We were having click-through rates that were insanely high. You know, the lowest were around 0.27% and all the way up to 1%, which is just, it's asinine. So it was obvious to us that it was an amazing value for us and for that particular product. I think you have to have the right product paired with the right community, but that's something that a lot of us can actually do because you know your community so well, you know what they're going to react well to. And make sure the ads that are showing on your site are content that the people that go to your site are interested in. Like, we have ads for the opera and the ballet because it makes people look at those ad spaces. And you never want to train your audience and your readership to like not look at your ad spaces just because you've got these crappy ads. You want them to look and be informed. You want it to be a vital part of your community. And if you do that with the right people, you're going to destroy the competition because you're better than an algorithm. And because you're not a commodity that just uses third-party data to track and tag people. You actually know your audience better than anybody else. You can find the right fit with an advertiser and you'll knock their socks off if they're sophisticated. And if they're not, you have to bring them up to that level so that you can show that you really are better than the competition.
And there's our T-shirt. You're better than an algorithm. I think we should make that our rallying cry.